dina di dina dina di dina din tuk dina tuna katta dak tuk dina din din da din din da tuk dina katta tuk dina.
Welcome back to Odisha Design Week. Our next speaker is the incredible shows both in India and abroad. Sculptor, muralist, printmaker, teacher, cultural expert, and most importantly, institution builder. He's been at work for 60 years now with 68 one-man shows. You can see his works primarily in oil, watercolor, ink, and content. He's also created several graphics, murals,
Lost connection.
We or they?
They have lost.
No, are you sure?
Yes. His connection.
It's theirs, not ours.
Glad to have you here, and I see you're wearing an extremely colorful jacket, which I would like to you.
Thank you very much. It's very cold in Delhi, and I did not put on the jacket thinking of the presentation. It was very cold, and this jacket was made at the Tibet House some 45 years ago in Delhi, and the Tibet House doesn't exist. Normally, this is beautiful woolen weaving of Tibetan. Normally, they also put a design fabric inside the jacket. And I requested them, since there are so much of design outside, let's have plain inside. Having said that what is very important in life is space. In everything, every aspect of life. And there is an expression, very simple expression, called how much and no more. Whether they're cooking with too much of oil or too much of spices or too much of chilies, if the microphone or the speaker is too loud, it will echo, and so on. At the moment, all over the country, a lot of street art has come into being. And it has become very garish. One day, I'm just giving you at a tangent various examples for all of you to mull over. One day I saw a lady in Delhi wearing a red sari with red shoes, red bag, sitting in a red car. So she killed the red, So I don't know where to start. Only thing, my concern is the tradition. In every country, we have to be rooted to the earth. And the tradition goes back for hundreds and thousands of years in every part of India or anywhere in the world. I'm not flying the flag, but I'm suggesting, since it has been tested for a long time, that there is a basket to strain the rice, and the basket has tiny holes, the rice doesn't go out. And it has a conical shape. Those who catch fish in Assam, Bengal, Orissa, etc., from the river or from the Nala, there are different kind of baskets are made in a conical shape that the fish will fly into it and you catch it easily. So there is answer to every aspect of life in the tradition. Whether it is basketry, whether it's jewelry, whether it is fabric and house building or whatsoever. I come from Orissa originally, from Mayurbhanj. And I've been away for 62 years in Bombay and then in Delhi. I've been a teacher of art and been an artist. Uh, I am totally at the moment lost. I became 80 on the 2nd of December. And I suddenly realized I have a lot of pending works, pending ideas to round up. Nothing gets completed ever, but to round up some projects so that your next generation, my children, don't suffer. That's one. But returning back to the tradition, at the moment I'm sitting in my studio, and the drawing that you see at the back of me is the drawing for my art center, the JD Center of Art, that Balakrishna V. Doshi has designed. The very famous architect who got the gold medal from the Queen last week and innumerable awards and laurels. He has designed, this is his first project in Orissa. This is opposite Khandagiri Caves. And he said this design is like a Orissan village, the cluster. And he came and we traveled together. We are very dear friends. So, what I'm saying, let's look at architecture since I'm talking of Doshi. Linda Gal McSweeney was the chief of UN some 35 years ago. And she was a dear friend of mine living in Delhi. And she came to Orissa. And I took her on a trip from Puri to Mayurbhanj. He said, Jatin, where is your traditional architecture of Orissa? But when I took her to the tribal pockets in Mayurbhanj, she said, wow, that is what beautiful, the mud houses. So what is it that the so-called educated people have alienated themselves from their roots, from their culture, from their art and aesthetics? But a tribal man knows how to build a house with mud and very thick walls, the inner courtyard, and he or she finds the beautiful clay of different color, applies on the wall like a mural. And whereas all the so-called educated people have broken down all the mud houses in Orissa, they made cement houses, concrete, flat roof, you know. Wherever there is heavy rain, there should be sloping roofs, you know. But our politicians, planners, and architects have to answer this, that how we have alienated ourselves from our culture that has tasted for thousands of years and is very simple. A Chola bronze maker, when he finishes the bronze of Vishnu, he pours milk on the top. It has to come down to the toes, then it's perfectly done. So there was very simple answer, whether it is a pyramid in Egypt, whether it's in China or Japan or India, in any of the ancient countries of the traditional culture, there's answer. A lot of women are now wearing synthetic saris. They said you wash it and you don't have to dry, you don't have to iron it. But ikat sari, cotton sari, is very healthy. The synthetic saris are not healthy. I remember Kamaladevi Chattopadhyay, who was much older than me but was a friend of mine in Delhi. She was a great, great scholar and aesthete who looked after the traditions of Indian craft. And she said, Jatin, that the very fact women wear sari, the weavers will survive. It's very simple answer. If you use terracotta glasses for your tea and drinking water, then the potter will survive. If you wear silver jewelry, enamel jewelry, the jeweler will survive, and so on. So we have to enrich ourselves with the tradition and then take off from there to be progressive. I dislike a word called modern. Modern is a very empty, vague word. Modern artist, modern thing. I'm a contemporary artist, not a modern artist. It was a word which was used in France, and then so uh, when, say, in India, we all speak minimum three languages. Minimum. I speak about six Indian languages. I speak Oriya, Bengali, Gujarati, Marathi, Hindi, and little bit of Punjabi, and so on. Because you have to be a student all the time to learn everything. This is one. The other is, if you, the little Sanskrit that we read in school makes it so convenient to understand a bit of Malayalam, bit of Telugu, and so on, and even Latin. You know, Patha is path. You know, so they're called two sisters. So whether it's language, whether it's weaving, whether it's craft, it's a dhokra, bell metal, kasa, pital. You know, say for instance, uh, all over the country, people ate in kaseka thali. Kaseka thali, which had a brim. So when you eat, the food will not drop out. The modern plates are silly that if you take the cutlery with a fork and a knife, still you have to push it to the side to catch it with your knife, with your fork. So, uh, and the Kansaga thali is very healthy. People have all given up Kansaga thali. Then there was katori to eat, the little bowls around. And our food was very balanced. And you had dry, say for instance, in every part of India, fantastic food, and they all ate in Kansaga thali. In a Pangat, when there was a festival or something, when there are hundreds of people who are eating, then they will give banana leaves or sal ka patta. Otherwise, at home, people ate in Kansaga thali. Now, when you have the katori, that's for dal and for some dry vegetable and for semi gravy and so on and so on. So there was a synthesis of all kinds of taste in your food. That is bitter, sour, sweet, gravy, tikha, everything. Green chili, lemon, ghee, everything. I think Indian range of the culinary art is extraordinary, you know. And so that is a concept, that's a design. Khane ka utensil. When you take a plate and you stand and have a buffet, that's not the way to eat. You have to sit down and eat. And if you have a thali, that's larger. And a plate is small. It contains only a few things, otherwise it gets mixed up. Likewise, say I don't touch computer, and somebody who comes to work at the computer, you say, where is the button? The button is hidden at the back or something. But that's stupid. All these designs of industrial products which are done, there should be a red button which should ask you to press the button to switch it on. You know. So we think everything which is done in the West is great, and everything that we have in our country is mediocre. That inferiority complex came from the colonial period. And what's his name? I forget. There was a Englishman who went to the British Parliament and said the education of India is very good, better than England. And if you want to really win them, give them an inferiority complex, teach them English, and their education should be to make them clerks, not to educate them properly. You know. So we come through all this process, but 75 years after independence, we have to rethink, rejuvenate, and introspect in terms of design. Now, I remember I'm talking about all this at a tangent, and uh, that there's a big difference between the Eastern and the Western world. I went to China, Japan, Korea, etc. many times. And when I go there, although I don't understand their language, but the whole way of life is very much like India. And we have the Western phobia. Everything is on the chair, and etc., etc. Sitting, people can't sit cross-legged on the floor. So when I saw in Japan, their food. Suppose the other day I was firing somebody, my framer. He puts 20 tapes with a bubble wrapper on my painting, and he spent that much of time and that much of tapes. When it comes, I also take that much of time to open it. So I said, don't put a tape, and just put a little string, put a knot and a pass, a garter pass. So you just open it, and the bubble wrapper is not spoiled, and it's easy to open. So all designs of everything in life, whether a hinge of the door on the window, whether the architecture, whether it's your computer, there are many cups and what do you call tea kettle. When you hold both your fingers, will not go in. You know, it has to be user friendly. It has to have a balance. Then I think of Sardar Gurcharan Singh, the great potter, who was the father of pottery, ceramic pottery of India in the modern times. And he died at 94 or something. He was a dear friend of mine. I was a member of their trust. And he used to say, I want to sell a mug for tea or coffee only for 10 rupees so that many people can use it. But his mugs were beautiful handle and good. A lot of modern ceramics, you will find there are porosity, there are holes, which is dangerous because there will be bacteria. But his glazes were very high quality. But if you, as I said, if you use a terracotta at my art center in Bhubaneswar, we use terracotta glass for tea and drinking water, etc. As I said, as Kamala Devi Chattopadhyay said, that they will, the potter, the weaver will survive if the women wear sari. Now, we are in the crossroad of so-called modernity and denigration of tradition. Now, all our traditional art forms, the British call it craft. Frankly, the traditional painter is 100 times better than me. You know, they are traditional art. I am a contemporary artist. But I, for one, I imbibe everything from my tradition because not because I'm just an Indian or Indian artist, but because the tradition is very rich and very powerful. When I see an oil lamp, whether it's in Kerala or Tamil Nadu and Orissa, Bengal, wherever, the oil lamp is beautifully designed, you know, and the base is larger, so the oil will not drop to the floor, and so on. The handi, the terracotta pitchers in which you boil water or you make rice or you make many kinds of sweets, and they last for a long time, and they're very thin. Today, the way a terracotta potter makes a handi so thin, ask a modern potter if he can do it. You know, Mm. In my art center in Bhubaneswar, it was set up in 1997, and it was done because instead of Delhi, I wanted in Orissa. Secondly, because I had stupidly, indulgently, and I had collected a lot of things, folk and tribal arts and crafts, then from India, from Orissa, then from China, Japan, Egypt, Africa, etc., were all my tour. And so it had to find a house to be, I had to shed baggage. So that's why the JD Center of Art. And we had a sculptors camp, traditional and contemporary. This will be the only center in the country which will have folk, tribal, classical, and contemporary art all together under one roof. And the idea is because these rivers are still flowing, only they are not connected. We sort of say, oh, he's a tribal artist, he's a folk artist. They are much more experienced, they're much more committed, they're much more sincere, they don't show off. We contemporary artists carry a badge that I am a great artist and I have the film on me and the catalog with it, and etc. But they are very simple and innocent. They are the real artists. So I had the sculptors camp at JDCA and traditional contemporary sculptors. The modern sculptor wanted a grinder which was making noise and raising dust, and the traditional sculptor had only two chisel, one fine one, one thick one, and a wooden hammer. That's it. And he made beautiful sculptures, you know. So we have to rethink, we have to get reconnected to our tradition. And although my doors and windows are open to every part of the world, but one lifetime is not good enough to become an artist. So you need two, three lives. But whatever it is, if you see Ajanta Ellora, if you see Ellora in the monolithic rock, how a sculptor has done an elephant fighting with a lion or the Shiva dancing, आदमी पागल हो जाएगा, you know. This kind of sculpture of that magnitude, that quality, that rhythm, I've not seen anywhere in the world. If you look at Konark sculptures, as if that woman is going to sing or start dancing just now, you know. So I just saw recently they are putting all kinds of colors on temples. They are putting all kinds of colorful lights on the temple. That's very bad. You know, when we talk of design, there's a traditional design, there's a design in terms of architecture, in terms of planning. Design is your concept, design is your idea. eh? So, design, the word is used for innumerable connotation, you know, and in the Eastern and the Western world. Then you say industrial design. The industrial design in France and Germany and Italy are totally different. Even when they make a monitor or a computer or a furniture, the subtlety of the French is seen in the French and the Italians and the Germans. When you see another thing about craft, especially in our country, whatever the kind of vegetation grows, whatever the kind of climate, that kind of craft is done. Say, as I mentioned earlier, there are baskets to catch fish in Assam, in northeast area, Bengal, Orissa, Andhra, etc., that area, Jharkhand, because there heavy rain, or in Kerala, you know. But that kind of basket is not made in northwest frontier or in Gujarat or Rajasthan, you know. So khajur pankha is made more in Gujarat and Rajasthan, but palm leaf fans are made in Orissa, Bengal, Assam, because that kind of vegetation is there. So the lifestyle, the need, and the utility, and the usage of materials like today's world, we said this is Bengal, this is Orissa. At one time it was not like that, you know. And every 100 kilometers you go, the language changes, the craft changes, the intonation changes, the singing changes, you know. So in our music, the Carnatic music, the structure is different than the not the classical music. The folk music in Gujarat, Rajasthan is different. When the earthquake took place in Kutch, a lot of people went and helped them to do the structure. They said, now stop it. We will finish the building, the houses. And believe me, if you go there today, if you look at their traditional houses, as if it was never broken, as if it's been sitting there for many years. So I remember in Orissa, when there was a big cyclone, I worked in a village. At that time, I was a president of Odisha Forum in Delhi, and we went and worked in a village. And when we worked in a village, various people, of course, in Orissa, in the country, came to do things. So I told the chief minister that let them fund, but they can't build a Orissa village house because the villager knows how to do the house. Because he wants a veranda and an inner courtyard. So let us strengthen the columns and the roofing pattern, but not interfere with their living area, because most of the tropical people spend their time in the veranda. He's doing his craft, he's eating there, he's lying down during the day. Only in the night he goes inside. So uh, we have gone through a sea change. Every kind of, whether it's industrial design, whether it's a cup and a saucer or a teapot, whether it's your car, whether it's your computer or a furniture, lot of the chairs are badly designed. It doesn't go with the spine, the curvature of the spine. And very few people have considered this. I remember Corbusier said, designing a chair is as important, as difficult as designing a city. Hmm. Say, let's look up. We're talking. I mentioned Corbusier. Corbusier, Chandigarh was done by him. At the time, he had done the design for Hitler and somebody else in America, and he made some changes and did it here, concrete. Uh, when you go to Chandigarh, it's not rooted to the place. You know, the time has come that we must question. He was a great architect, very great thinker, designer. But the houses should grow in that soil. If you go to Masuri, etc., and look at the colonial period architecture, very beautiful. They considered sloping roof, rainwater storage tank. eh? So, because of the sloping, you have the the pipes to have the storage tank, etc. But lot of people after that have built concrete houses in the hills, and it's an earthquake zone. So the concept is form follows function. Everything that we do as a industrial product, duplication of things, or by hand, of course, the people who did in the tradition, they had the knowledge and the expertise of generation of people who polished it. You know, so as I mentioned about a Scotch tape, and I talk about industrial design, and what is the purpose of all this? It should be consumer friendly, user friendly. You know, and I want to request Mr. Choudhury, who started the Odisha Design conclave, that let it be rooted to first to Orissa. Let's address our craft, our dance and music, and our architecture. There isn't a single building anywhere in Orissa today. You have to search in the villages, which is a proper Orissan architecture. Look at what you call in Tamil Nadu. What is the Chattiar homes? What fantastic architecture! The verandas, the halls, the columns. Many people are breaking down the traditional homes in Gujarat and Rajasthan. They're bringing it to the city and selling it to the people. You know, so we have to respect and also to preserve our heritage, and then we do some contemporary thing. So, as I said, whether designing a chair or designing a plate, a cutlery, you might have seen many times. If you take a cup of tea with a saucer and a spoon, quite often the spoon falls off because there has to be a little curvature. It has to be a little smaller for it to stay and sit on the saucer and things like that. I'm talking of little things, you know. So, any question, then I can, Uh, there was a Patwan Singh was a person who's dead and gone, who was in Delhi, and about 60 years ago he started a magazine called The Design, and it was an unusual, extraordinary magazine, and it has a big circulation. There were a lot of people in the past, in the 50s, 60s, 70s, until almost 80s, who were concerned about tradition And the same time, they were very progressive also. You know, they spoke English. My father knew Kalidas and Shakespeare when he finished high school. You know, so I think India is a country which assimilates and is very open to many ideas and imbibes from the Mughal period and to the colonial period, everything. But I think we are stuck somewhere. Have I gone beyond the time, Suresh?
No, Jatin, you have 12 minutes more.
Yeah. Is there any question? Um, look at ikat, for instance. In Kerala, the Mondu sari, which is the gold matte gold border with a kora cloth, beautiful. If somebody goes to Kerala and if you offer 10 lakhs of rupees to a weaver, he will not change his design. When I go and buy saris for gifting in Orissa, when go to buy saris in Orissa shops, so I said, "Why have you done this ugly design in the pallu?" He says, "Sir, there are people who want to buy this kind of thing." Sorry. If you go to Pipili, the Applic Center on the way to Puri, mm, they are using ugly colors. It used to be black, terra red, yellow, and white. These are the colors. I have some of the very old pieces. Today they are so garish, you know. So if you see as I said, ikat sari, they are using like a bedsheet design on the pallu. And our Orissa and Bengal craft and weaving, etc., very subtle. And the Gocho Macho Pulo Rudraksh, tree, fish, Rudraksh, these were the design which was a part of Pallu. And they were very tiny, you know. And they were, and the colors were Khairi, Baingani, eh, Karang. So, whether in Patachitra, whether in weaving, but if you look at the tribal weaving now, they use vegetable dyes and very beautiful. Like Sanghani has the handmade paper, Sanghani has the block printing, the Gujarat, Rajasthan have block printing, the southern eastern part of India has weaving. There is ikat in China, Japan, Korea, and ikat also in Orissa, ikat also in Gujarat, and also in Persia. A 10, 12-year-old boy in Orissa, a weaver, he looks at the design, he ties a thread eh, for the dipping into the color, and then he opens the thread completely. Then dips into the ink, the dye, and then opens it up. Extraordinary. Simada ikat is there in Andhra, but in Orissa they're using very very bad fabric, and some of them are mixing synthetic with it. We have to have the what you call PPP, public private participation. Whatever I want to be parochial. I want Orissa to look within, whether it's our language, whether it's our food, whether it's our artist, our musician, dancer, architects, whatever. We must respect them. We must give them work, and we must retain our heritage. Once we do that, then we reach out to India. A lot of people, the other day I was talking to somebody, and he's saying, I want to have an international artist camp. I say, first of all, have a Orissa artist camp, have an Indian, but everybody is talking of international, global, etc. Um, uh, it should be inclusive. As Tagore said, let's keep our doors and windows open to ventilate, but let us not be flown away by the wind, by the strong wind. So, my concern is we have to look within, say, design, National Institute of Design, where my elder son had studied. I had visited there as a visiting faculty. Let me tell you, when I went there and Ashok Chatterjee and others, and this what's it called, Satwalekar, etc. there. And Satwalekar father was an artist, and we were together. Although he was much older than me, but I had a studio in Bhulabhai Memorial Institute in Bombay, and so he had. And I remember I was the secretary of the art club in America, Indo-American Society, and Satwalekar got that award, and I had given it. Anyway, so I was recollecting, I was very emotional when I went to NID. When I arrived, I thought Ashok Chatterjee, etc., will come to the airport. I didn't see them. Then I saw a crumpled little NID written on a flag. Somebody came to receive me, that was the driver. So I said, National Institute of Design do not have a placard which is beautifully designed. Simple. You just have to write NID, but it should be staring at you. Then I thought, no, Jatin, don't be nitpicking. So when I went there, I thought, I took a bottle of scotch, thinking that we'll have a drink. I forgot that the Gujarat was dry. And then I thought Ashok Chatterjee, etc., will be there. And I was given the key to the flat, and that's it. So I went mad. I didn't see them at the airport. They were not there. Why I'm talking about this? When my son was there, you see, the great architect, Corbusier, Frank Lloyd Wright, and Louis Kahn, they've all designed. I couldn't find any bench anywhere to sit down. There wasn't a bench. There wasn't a seat anywhere in the entire campus. All those students who had the room, they had to put their bed outside or something to put their drawing table into the room. So, all I'm saying, all designing should be user friendly, should be human, should be kind to the user. And look at IKEA, the Scandinavian design, etc. They frankly have similar to more China, Japan than to anywhere else. So I don't know where to start. Start in the sense, uh, 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 I have a duster car, and when I give the indicator for turning, the light is very tiny. If I put my hand on the door and the glass goes down, it was badly designed. You know what I mean? So it's not finding fault, but every industrial product should be tested, and if it is enriched from the tradition, then it will be more powerful. Okay, is there anything, any question, anything? Hello?
Hi,
Is
Jatin.
yeah, tell me please.
You still have 5 minutes to go. We're just
Ah,
waiting to finish
hmm.
questions that are not coming yet.
Good. But we can, we have a very wrong concept of lectures. I've given hundreds, thousands of lectures. Quite often, people read their resume at the presentation, and I always tell them, don't read my resume. Leave it outside the door. Let everybody pick it up, or give a link to the website so they can see. That time is not wasted. Number one. Number two, if the subject is important, not me. The subject we are discussing is important, and for that reason, let's butt in. Acha, you said this, let's discuss. At the end of the presentation, when you do, you forget the first what you talked about. So my concern is, let us review and rethink about a presentation. The subject is important, not the presenter. And there should be partake, the listener, the person who is presenting should together review and digest and share the subject. So if we are talking about design, those who are listening, I hope there are students also there, and any view, any idea, please butt in and tell me. I'll be very happy to share. So we have to rethink about all this. You know what I mean? Uh, Design. Let me tell you, in Odisha, when there is a poetry reading, there are ministers and many other people go on a dais. We used to have a poetry group in Bombay. There was no press, there were no outsiders. Only the poets and a few others quietly read their poems. Are you getting what I'm saying? Now, designing an auditorium, designing a classroom. Now, look at the COVID period. Every school is designed badly. They are like army barracks. You know what I mean? The school should be designed in such a way that you have horizontal spread of canopy, columns and canopy. So children could have sat with 2 meters away. You know what I mean? And whereas in the villages, under a tree, the teacher is there, and the children are sitting on the, Maidan. So just think of it. My elder son studied in Rishi Valley, which is a fantastic school, you know. And but most of our schools are not designed as a school. You get my point? Say, look at a gallery. Let me tell you something else. You go to an art gallery, and the lighting is like a sari shop. The light has to be very soft on painting because with too much of strong light, it fades away. The light should not be directly on painting, it should be to the side. A lot of people talk in the gallery. People should quietly look at it. Are you getting what I'm saying? Look at the churches and mosques. They are better preserved. Look at all our temples, and various people contribute. They put red, orange, green, all kinds of colors. And where there is no marble, they put a marble floor, and they put their names in the temple. A beautiful temple, only on the Himalayan hills you can find some lovely temple, or in southern India. Southern India temples are beautiful, but some of these people are painted on the stone sculpture, you know. So we have to, our sense of aesthetics, we had plenty in this country. We're talking about the COVID. Everybody who went to a home in the villages, there was water at the door. You wash your feet and then you enter. Let me tell you a fantastic thing. In the 80s, I was selected to make a collection of handicraft of 9 states of eastern part of country for the Festival of India in Russia. And I had the photographer and everybody in a jeep, so I stopped by a rice field. I walked into a house. Then I said, "आपके पास कोई पंखा है?" Then I said it in Assamese, "Bisoni, bisoni hoibo lage." Eh? So, nobody said anything. One child came and poured water on my feet. Another was holding a towel for me to gamcha to wipe my feet. Another child came and spread a mat on the veranda. Another lady came with a glass and sweets for me to sit down. And then 20 children went running, and about 30, 40 varieties of pankha was accumulated because I have a large collection of pankha. You get my point? And then when I was leaving, the entire village came to see me off. And when will you come again? So what I'm saying of this hygiene of क्या बोलते हैं इसको sanitizer, etc. So this system was there. You never enter in traditional home. You never enter kitchen unless you are bathed and with clean clothes, even if you are a member of the family. You don't touch pickle, etc., etc. So washing hands, washing feet, etc. You see, part of aesthetics, part of living. You know, in our childhood, we have seen in Lakshmi Puja, little brass ka murti. They are washed with imli and rak. Then they're put up. Then there's arati in the evening. So there is somebody coming and reading the Veda in the evening, and so on. So in a family, I don't know what to say. We have lost bearings with our tradition, with our arts and craft, and our gentle living. You know what I mean? A lot of people open a fridge, take a bottle, and drink water like this. you know, it's never done. In Kerala, they have warm water which is boiled with cumin seed, and they give it to you. That way, The Southern Indians have preserved their tradition, and even a rich man will be very simple. So, my concern is first of all, let's set our home in order, that is, home and primary school. If we engage with these two things, then only we can progress well. Those who go to college, university, by then they are finished. They've already got their blinkers. So, my request to the design conclave of Mr. Chaudhary, kindly let's concentrate in Orissa. Now, say palm leaf. Some kids went from an ID to work with the palm leaf A. They cut the palm leaf, etc., made a thing which will cost so much of our money. It takes so much of time. But palm leaf, when they engrave on the palm leaf and write with the stylus, what they call lekhani, then you know what they do? If you take custard apple leaves and you rub on it, that's how it become black. The 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 engraved portion. So people had very simple methods how to live, how to work on art, etc. You know, say on Nariyal, there are a lot of paintings are done on Nariyal in Orissa. You know,
Jatin, I need to interrupt you. We are
please.
running out of time.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
Can I
I'm through.
take a couple of audience questions before we
Please,
finish?
please, please, please. I'm finished.
Questions about using too much technology. I see a laptop and a printer behind you.
That's
What
right.
is your attitude towards technology, Jatin?
No, I'm not. You see, a lot of people say you are of another generation. That's why you are anti technology. No, you see, brush is also a technology. You know, the color I'm using. You see, let me give you another example. Radhakrishnan, the great scientist who died a few years ago, son of the Nobel laureate yeah, C.V. Raman, was a very dear friend of mine. And I have a Meet the Artist program at JD Center of Art called Meet the Artist. And he came on the 100, this is for 20 odd years, uninterrupted, gone on for every second Saturday. He came and gave a talk, Inseparable Relationship Between Art and Science. It's not both side of a coin. It is like sugar and coffee and milk. You cannot separate. So they're nothing like science and art, which is a wrong way of looking at it. That is one. And I have these computers. I don't use. I don't want to learn. I've got some people to help me. There are hundreds of emails are sitting there to be replied. Because at that time, I rather do a drawing or a painting or writing something or a poem. You know. But quite often people say he's an old timer. He doesn't want to learn. It is a mindset, etc. So they're nothing like science and art separate. Number one. If you look at, I personally feel, you know how a music teacher, an artist, and a botanist teacher, and a mathematics teacher should teach together to a child. How? I'll tell you. If you look at a creeper outside in the garden, there are leaves which are starting from the same place. Then there are leaves which are alternatively there. During the lockdown period, me and my little son at Asiad village, we went on drawing leaves and flowers. Would you believe 99% of the flowers I found are five petals only? So there's some secret of nature. You get my point? So there are different kind of colors, different kind of forms. So what I'm saying is teaching can be done, all science and art together. Please,
Okay. Jatin Das, I'm sorry, we're going to have to end our session. It's been a
please.
fascinating 1 hour's journey, but we have to end the session because the closing ceremony of the Odisha Design Week is coming up in just a few minutes.
Ah,
Thank you for talking to us. Thank you for the inspiration and the wide ranging talk on subjects from art to design to nature to drawing to technology. Thank you.
thank you very much. Mine
It's
was
been
a rambling. Mine was a rambling.
Thank you. It's a wonderful artistic rambling. So that's what we've all been waiting for. And on the first day, unfortunately, because of connection issues, we couldn't get your
Correct.
rambling. Exactly. But as you can see from the audience, everybody loves the ramble. We want to hear more of you rambling.
Is there any question? Are there any?
Just the one question about use of technology.
Yeah. What?
No, you already answered it, Jatin, about
Yeah, yeah,
your
yeah.
attitude towards technology.
Mm.
So, thank you very much, and we
Please.
wish you a long and healthy life.
Thank you
Much
very much.
more fun, many more
I wish
shows.
all the best to Odisha Design Conclave.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Very kind.
Thank you, Jatin.
Thank you. Namaskar.